Hi, I'm Jennifer Petrie and I'm a community manager at Ninja Kiwi. I previously worked in a startup company called Earthbound Games. I was really fortunate to fall into the industry because prior to being in it I was I was studying to be a technical artist at Arcadia, and I streamed at the same time, and I was approached by someone who was looking to do an esports type of game, and that kind of led me to fall into CM, and I was offered a job that at the time I didn't think it was going to be. I didn't think it was my dream job, and then I got into the role and I realised how much I love it, and the rest is history, and we're here. But I was going to talk today for 5 minutes solid with my cats because they're really cute, but I'm going to instead be briefly debunking some of the myths of community management, and then I'm going to share some tips and things that I think are important for future community managers to continue loving what they do. So at first I'm going to draw your attention to this lovely meme I've made, which is my light-hearted representation of what is a CM and in kind of relation to my social circle and what people think. There's obviously the running joke that CMs play games all day and we make memes, and that's kind of all we do, but that's not true. And then obviously got the players' views of us, of a lot of CMs, which is understandable because you're the first point of contact from the company with the players, so you're met with a lot of frustration, which I totally understand, but I promise we are not trolls and we really don't like banning people. What society thinks, I think when you try and describe community management, because it's such a mishmash of like marketing and art and tech support, I feel like this is the image that anyone thinks of, so hence why the image. What I think I do, when I initially made this meme, I thought, oh, this is really clever, but now it needs some explanation, so it's not very clever. But I think the sense of heroism you feel when you help out a player is really quite gratifying, and hence the meme. And what I actually do, everything. Like a mix match, like a mix up of different things. So I'm quite new to the industry, but I've had some experience in startup where we've just built communities from the ground up, and now I work in a community that's a really fully fledged and thriving community. So I'm going to share some things I've learned along the way. 2 things I think are really key practice in community management, and one is probably aims towards community managers who are creating a community from the ground up. So one of the things I learned when I worked in a startup company was that when you start from scratch, it's really easy to get lost. If we're going to post more things, get more engagement, we'll get more exposure. But once you start building a community and you've had this exposure, and people aren't sticking with the game, it's really disheartening. And I think it's really important to take time to stop and assess that. So does your game, if you're doing everything you can marketing wise, you have to start looking at, does your game have the mechanics for the kind of audience that you're looking for and the kind of things you're promoting? And does your game have the building blocks in place for a community to flock to? Will people naturally kind of gather around this and get excited about it? And if not, are there other aspects that need to give it your attention? And it's really important to discuss that with your team. So I'm going to jump into my second point, which is extinguishing imposter syndrome. I think because there's not a degree in community management, it's really easy to fall into this, I'm not qualified, and I do it myself. I constantly have imposter syndrome. But I think what people forget is no matter your background, you're going to always have something relevant to bring. So whether you're an artist, you've got marketing experience, whether you've got sales experience, or if you're a streamer on Twitch and you've built a community, these are interpersonal skills which are super important, and these are things you're going to build on anyway. So I think it's really important to remember that no community manager has the same skill set as another, and I think once you're in the role, you're not limited by the skills that you've brought. You're always kind of expanding on these, and I feel like for myself, when I jump into a role, I make a point of kind of figuring out where my strengths and my weaknesses lie, and I kind of work with those who have the strengths that are my weaknesses to just kind of build on that, and learn, because that's what it is. You're constantly learning. So the last point I'm going to make is about boundaries. It's really easy to want to be involved in your community, especially when you love your job and you really want to do the job to the best of your ability. But I think, and it's hard for me to preach this because I've been in this situation where you are in an indie startup, and you want to create a rapport and you want to be active and approachable to the players. But I think once you run the risk of falling in a rabbit hole. So if you make yourself too available, you're setting yourself an unreal expectation, and it's not healthy for you or your community. So once you're done with work, close your work tabs. That Discord message you were chatting, or someone you were chatting with on Discord, close Discord, reply to the messages when you start work tomorrow, and for me, this is something I learned from other CMs, and I didn't take it on at the time, but I think once I started to implement it, you relax and you come into work the next day feeling excited to go back to work because you've had that downtime. So that's my 3 points. These are things that I thought were quite useful to know. So I'm going to touch on the first one again. Your community is essentially people that are going to flock together for a common interest. So if they're not engaging anymore and they're not interested, find out why, and don't be afraid of the feedback. And it's okay to take a step backward to fix this. My second point, you can gain community management experience from a bunch of different avenues. You don't have to have a degree in community management, because there's no such thing. Interpersonal skills you get from life are really, really relevant, and whatever you don't know, you pick up along the way, and you can learn as you go. And my last point is boundaries. Create boundaries. If you create them, the community are going to respect them, and if you don't, you run the risk of putting out fires on the weekend and during your downtime, and you'll just burn yourself out. So I hope this has been useful. It's a lot more serious and far less soppy than me talking about my cats. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to get in touch via my socials or at the end of the chat. So thank you.